you?
Amy. I'm good.
Well, we're here, and today we are talking about a subject that is valid for all creatives, writers, musicians, anybody who has to put their art on the line and hoping things work out in the long run. So, we're talking about rest and grace.
Yes.
So
And
Tab, what you were offline, you were telling me a little bit about a writer talking about the concept of how difficult it is for writers, and I would say other creatives as well, to rest.
yeah, to rest and also to let go. So the rest part, the first thing I saw a tweet from somebody that I know pretty well, and she was an agent and and an editor, and said, why do writers not feel like they can take a vacation? Like every other person that works a job or has a career or owns a business or does anything can take a vacation, can rest, right? And we writers, for especially if we're in the middle of a project, we feel like we can't not touch it every single day, and that advice of write every day is so important. And I think back to the time that I came to visit you with our other friend Mary in Maine, in Portland, Maine, and we literally shut ourselves down for an entire day, and we hiked that entire day. Do you remember we went to the beach
Yes,
and we
I
hiked through the
do,
woods?
and we were all amazed that we did
We were
it.
all amazed that we did it. It was one day off, and I remember thinking, I can't remember the last time I truly took a day off. Like, you know, and that's the beauty of an artistic career or a flexible career, that you kind of have a little more control over your time, is that you can say, oh, if I don't want to work on Thursday afternoons or Thursday mornings, that's my hiking day, I can write on Sunday, and but we never really feel like we can just step away. And I think it's partly because there's always more to do, but that's true anywhere. And how it's a little bit, the self-care piece has to come into play, and we have to be able to say, I'm stepping away. So I say that too because I was in Yellowstone, and three of my kids and my daughter-in-law and my dad came out to see us in Yellowstone. And and this is our life, where our life is on the road. But I was like, I am not going to try to write while we're doing Yellowstone. Like, I'm not going to try to get two sentences done a day. I'm not going to try to get 1,000 words done. I'm going to try to get anything done a day. I'm just gonna let it rest. And you know what? I came back. My book was still there. I didn't lose all my mind, like my train of thought. I didn't, it was
Yeah,
okay to take that
and
break.
it's not just writers. I mean, other creatives
Yeah.
and other business owners have this
Yes.
neurosis. Uh,
Yes.
I do think we are a little bit afraid, especially if we're in the middle of a project,
Yes.
of losing the thread.
Yes.
Like, like if we abandon our story is going to abandon us. So kind of like
True.
a not really fear of missing out, but
Yeah. Fear of that moment where you had the great idea, you didn't write it down, and then it is gone.
but
And
you still
that's
need to
real.
know. We've talked about that, but
Yes.
I wonder too. I do think that this feeds into the other subject we were talking
Yes.
about before we started recording, which is this guilt we carry around, like that we've got to do all the things to be worthy of the publishing or worthy of the success or worthy of the career. And what I was sharing with you is this epiphany that I had is never going to happen.
Right.
Never. There's always going to be things I pile on the list of things I need to do or
Right.
whatever. And so that you also have to open yourself up to just this. And people come from different backgrounds, but I'm spiritual, not religious. So when I say the word grace, I mean like the grace of the universe, that you've been putting this out there, you've been putting energy into something, and things will flow back to you in the right way, in the right timing. And
Yeah.
you can say yes, you can let it in. Because if anybody out there like listening to this, I can feel within myself the resistance that comes in the form of like a sadness or a melancholy when I'm really happy about something, when something's really beautiful, like almost like I don't deserve this much beauty. I think a lot of us have that. It's like baked in the bone.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think, I've been talking to my two of my kids. All of my kids are in artistic fields some way or another. And one is a writer, a screenwriter. And we all know that the screenwriters are on strike. All the writers in general are all on strike. The actors are on strike. And in the end, obviously, we believe that there'll be a better working atmosphere, hopefully, after this is finished. But, just when he was finishing school and doing his senior project, which was the film that gets sent to film festivals and this and that, COVID happened. So that got shut down and you couldn't finish it 2 years later. And then just as he's getting out there and making the connections, starting to have the, like, oh, we want to see your work. Oh yes, pitch us this deck, and pitch us whatever. Everybody's on strike. So he's like, am I cursed? And I said, well, no.
Maybe he is the curse.
Maybe. But I said, all we can do is do the work, do the creative work, do the things we can do to be, to improve our craft, to show up and enjoy it still. It is still a joy to be able to do your art as your profession, right? And to position yourself as best you can to be in the place, to make the connections, to say yes, to kind of create some of that luck yourself and be persistent. Don't give up. Then you got to let it go, because so much of this is dependent on other people's opinions, on the market, on what's in the pipeline, on who wants what. And that at a certain point, you have to let go of outcome and just, control the things that you have control over, and recognize that you don't have control over many other things. So, and my daughter, same thing. She's a musician and she's like, I don't know, am I doing enough? Am I doing just like, in your heart, when you're
About the doing enough thing, like,
right, you're never going to do enough, really.
but it's not the whole, like, it's this
Right.
Venn diagram of things, right?
Right. And
Like,
yeah, and it's the letting go of the outcome, and but staying in the game, essentially, staying, true to your passion, true to your work ethic, true to the things that you want to create and do, and keep on keeping on. And you're going to get better because you keeping on, right? So actually, by the time you get to the point where,
you get better.
the world is ready to meet you there, you're ready, you're ready
Yeah.
too, which is this interesting thing. So
And then I guess that also falls back to what you were saying about your daughter and Kira. I can't say just your daughter, I have to say
my
Kira.
daughter.
And how she had been thinking she wanted to do a double major between music and what was the other science?
Neuroscience, yeah.
Neuroscience. And she was like, I just don't love it enough. And I think that is
Right.
that's essential as well. That if you're going to commit to this kind of creative path, or I mean, any field can be creative. Entrepreneurs are certainly incredibly creative.
Right.
You got to pick something that has your heart.
Right.
You
You
know?
do, because when it becomes work, it's actually work. You know what I mean? And I think I might have talked about this before, but when I wrote my first book, I was working in education. My 4 children still lived at home. My husband was still traveling 3 weeks out of the month. I was still, it was this crazy time in my life, but the creative bug, the creative energy had opened up, I think because the kids were older, a little bit older. And I had this urge to start writing. And I finished that book in the course of the school year, that first book, because I protected that time. It was such a joy to write that book. It was almost all joy. Yes, I got into like, oh my gosh, how am I going to solve this problem? But even that was like, wow, I'm actually, when you finish it, you're like, I did solve that plot problem. I did get to the end. And it was just this, no other writing experience has been quite that pure joy for the sake of doing your art as art, because now it's my career. So it has that layer of otherness to it. But that's not to say that I ever want to lose touch with the joy. And I was even talking, I was like, I think I need another artistic hobby, because my art is now my work. So I know you've taken up piano, right?
I'm learning piano.
Yes. My husband wants me to play bass. He's like, then you can get on stage with me and have the bass line, and I'll have, like a rhythm section. I'm
I
like,
think you'd rock that girl.
Maybe. I mean, it's not like I can't read music, and it's not like I've not been in but like that's.
Oh, why not? That'd be so fun.
But to do things for fun that are still, feeding the passion, but also, how do you not lose the joy, in the work? And I think that's taking a vacation. Rest is part of it, like actually stepping back for a minute and breathing is important. And all the other things we talk about, letting go of the outcome, and accepting grace when it comes, when accepting those beautiful moments of serendipity or joy when they come, and not missing them because you think you have the next thing to do, so.
Yeah, and actually, I had a friend here who was talking about he knew he's a teacher and he was on a management track, and something that he had been wanting in his life like popped, but he was so consumed with this career that he didn't even want to pursue that it just passed him by. And shortly after he stopped and he was like, oh, if I had been more aligned with what I wanted
Right.
and the career I wanted, my mind would have been clear to
Right.
allow this thing that I really wanted, but I was so twisted up in it. And so, that's the thing is it's, but you're going to get twisted up in things that you care about too. I feel like we
Right.
always go back to the essential thing, which is there kind of are no answers. Here are the different pieces that are essential, and you, the human, in the middle of it all, just got to do your best to manage them as best you can. But there's no perfect answer. Nobody gets it right.
Right.
Uh, Nobody gets it wrong to a certain extent either. And it does come back to letting go, but also allowing
Hmm.
space for
Yes.
that word grace, like just
Yes. To come into
for
your,
just to for it just to drop in. But
yeah.
God, like, every single one of us, like, what the heck? Like, why can't we chill more? Why
And
can't
then
we
it's an
chill?
interesting thing
Like
too. And
all the most
artists, we're in
fulfilling.
our heads a lot, right? Like we spend a lot of time in our own mind. And I think that we think about these things a lot and they can swirl or bog us down. And that's where the rest, the self-care, the balance, all of those things are really important for us artsy types, because otherwise we can get lost in our own, and miss those chances for grace to come in, or whatever, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, this is a super not practical, thing, but
Not practical at all. We're giving
not,
you no real tips. It
no
just
real
if
tips, just
we're there with you. Maybe
yeah.
that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that
We're
these
there with
are
you.
things that just kind of just shining a light on some of them, and bringing awareness to the fact that these are things artists wrangle with.
Yeah, you're not alone. I guess that's what this. I mean,
Yeah, you're not alone.
not alone. Yeah, and
Not
well,
alone.
I'm sure we have a more
Yes. Now,
practical topic.
well, we haven't been on here in a few weeks because we've all
Yeah,
been resting during summer and partying and doing other fun things and seeing Yellowstone and whatever. But yeah, we're gonna get back on our track this month and have some more posts for you. So we still haven't finished up all of our stuff on romance, which we have to
yeah,
finish
we have
and
a
talk
lot to
about
do on
that.
romance, and also we do. I mean, I suppose on the YouTube's people can in the comments you can send us questions.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a
We're going to
question,
start, yeah, we're going to start fielding questions on writing or process or writing romance or,
whatever.
whatever. We're open to whatever.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Until next time.
Next time.